Good evening, everyone. This is Henry Hushke back for day 15 of the COVID cast. I am going to be giving you a little update on my lackluster piano today as our intro. So, here I go. Here are a couple things that I have done since day one. All right. Thank you for listening to me play the piano for a little bit there. I just picked up those some of those pieces today. Some of them I've been looking at for a few days, but just kind of continuing to try to improve my skills and broaden my scope. So I know that's super like basic beginner stuff, but you know what? I will take it. Anyways, let's get to the day is March 28th, 2020. It's a Saturday. And if you're a new viewer, I'm Henry Hushke, 17-year-old, junior in high school from Traverse City, Michigan, which is in northwestern Michigan. So let's check out our favorite Johns Hopkins tracker to see what's up with the cases worldwide right now. Okay, so as of recording, we are at 652,079 cases worldwide. I'm recording this a little bit earlier than usual, so there's a good likelihood that this will represent a small increase in new cases compared to yesterday. Yeah, yesterday's increase in cases was 63.7 thousand, and right now we're at about 59,000, I think. So if I had to guess, by the end of the day, we'll be around 65,000. So most likely going to end around 660. Anyways, we continue to see pretty exponential growth. Maybe some signs of maybe the second derivative maybe turning flat, not being positive, or maybe getting a little bit smaller for those of you in calculus. But still pretty exponential growth right now. Big news. Well, the U.S., as we talked about yesterday, has passed 100,000 cases, and right now they're at 115,000. But I know that this number doesn't even include Michigan's cases that we confirmed today, so it's probably going to be, if I had to guess, 120, 125-ish by the end of the day. So bad stuff out of the U.S. especially with pretty much averaging probably going to have a 20,000 case increase. So the U.S. still exploding, although, like we talked about in previous casts, the measures New York is taking, like I've said in the past, really do seem to be making maybe a difference. Maybe they're going to start to have a dent, because today they reported about 5,200 new cases in the state of New York, whereas the past couple days they were in between 7 and 6,000. So that's potentially some good news out of New York. Although I would caution against just looking at these new case numbers, just like straight up, because as a sign that the actual number of new cases is decreasing, because there's a good chance that when New York ramped up its testing capabilities to test like 18,000 people a day, when they did that, there's a very good chance that there were a lot of people that had it and just were kind of on the list waiting to get a test, that got a test, that most likely had it. So you might see those like very initial things when you start testing widespread, show an increase and then a decrease once you get all those people, that kind of backlog of people that already had it and were waiting to get that test once they get it, So not a definite win, not a definite sign that New York is on the decline, but certainly good news that they had fewer cases today. Fewer new cases today, although the total number of active cases continues to climb. So, not that great of news, but it's something. Here in Michigan today, we had 993 new cases in Michigan today, with 19 more deaths. And our total cases is now 4,650 total cases of COVID-19 and 111 deaths. So Michigan is actually one of the hardest hit states out of any state. Definitely something to watch out for here, just for my peeps here in Michigan. Michigan continues to struggle, and I think there's lots of problems on the way. The main thing about Michigan is New York State has done, I know, well over 100,000 tests. I think it's somewhere around 200,000 tests they've done, and they've found 52,000 cases with their over 200,000 tests. Well, Michigan has these fairly high numbers, 4,650 cases, but the entire state, there's only been 15,282 tests. So, state of Michigan, I'm super concerned about. And especially if you go on the Michigan website, the state of Michigan website, you can kind of see the map and kind of the geographic spread. All these different counties up here in the north who have a case or a few cases. So, all those people, it's likely that there just wasn't one person from each of these. It's very likely that each of these counties has maybe 5 or 10 people infected already. So it's super important. That's why it's super important that the whole state follows the statewide lockdown order. And in the local area in Grand Traverse County here, I've definitely seen mixed signals. Some things that make me feel pretty optimistic, some things that don't. I don't know if I mentioned this yesterday, but I did. Just kind of the scene at the grocery stores here. It's not very good. I think those are going to be the main vectors for spread, and I think spread will be very easy, I suppose, here. I know that in some of these places, some of these cases, in fact, were caught at the grocery store. That's where they think it was caught, and there's like only one case in some of these places where they think they caught it at the grocery store. So like, I know, even though it might seem like there's not that much up here, I think we have a lot more to find up here in our local region. So just a word of warning. nowhere is really safe with this. Yeah. Our local community, I live in Grand Traverse County. We have 2 new cases today, bringing us up to 5 cases. One important thing to remember with the Michigan numbers here, for those of you in Michigan, is that testing still, when a hospital gets a patient who they suspect might have COVID, and they take the test and send the sample off, it takes like 3 days before the state lab gets to that. They have a backlog of cases that they're testing. So in some places it is less than a day. It just depends. But in a lot of these places, these numbers lag quite a bit between what's still pending. So I'll include this in the description for those of you in Grand Traverse County. But we have our own website for our county, and it lets you know about how many people they've confirmed to have it, and how many people they're testing and what's pending right now. So it's good information for those of you here in my local area. So yeah, I think there's a coming pretty big problem in the next couple weeks. We'll find out a lot, I believe, about the state of Michigan, but I think the struggle is going to be real, and I think it's going to be the same in every single place. There's been a lot of talk in the U.S. about trying to reopen certain counties and stuff. And I think that the only way we could do such a thing is just with a vast improvement in testing, because coronavirus is so widespread in the U.S. now that there's really almost no way to figure out where it is and where it isn't unless you can test a significant portion of the population. Otherwise, you're going to end up just leaving some places open where it will spread like wildfire, and then you'll have a terrible outbreak. So just something to keep in mind as we head forward into the future here. I know I've talked about it quite a bit, that, when, people cross county lines all the time, and just piecemeal lockdowns aren't really effective as full-on lockdown and then extensive testing and contact tracing. Those are the things, and then you can figure out where you can open back up. But we're just not at that phase yet. So, anything else today? I think it's going to be a shorter one today. In other news, let's see, we kind of talked about Britain last few days. Well, actually, I'm not sure. Boris Johnson now confirmed to have coronavirus, and a few other heads in the UK have been confirmed. So it should be interesting to see what happens there. Obviously, I hope they're okay, and it seems like they apparently all have mild symptoms, but we do know with this virus that things can take a turn pretty quickly. So hopefully they're okay. Just other things to think about. I'd like to reiterate something that I've said many times, and that's the importance of remembering other places around the world in the future. So we're starting to see pretty huge outbreaks in different parts of Africa, or at least what I presume are huge. I assume that the actual confirmed cases are just the tip of the iceberg here. For instance, Burkina Faso has 207 confirmed cases. I assume that their testing infrastructure is extremely limited. We're starting to see same in Southeast Asia, Thailand. We have over 1,000 cases. Malaysia, 2,300 cases. The Philippines, over 1,000 cases. So these are places where people definitely cannot easily self-isolate and self-quarantine, high population density, and just a limited ability to just completely shut the economy down. A lot of these countries just simply do not have the resources to be able to do that. So something we're going to have to watch out for. It seems like, the first epicenter of the outbreak was China. Then Europe became the focus. Now that's shifting towards the U.S., and I assume it'll shift there next. once we hopefully take care of this swiftly. Although I would caution again that no solution is going to be too swift. On some negative news, Italy passed 10,000 deaths today. Very sad for Italy. I hope they're doing okay as they're in their third week of lockdown. Or maybe even entering fourth. Yeah, they're entering their fourth here soon. So they're not seeing quite as many new cases, but they're still seeing many, many cases, and their systems are definitely swamped. And Spain is definitely getting to the same page and is really not far behind. And same again with France and the UK. So we have to hope that all these places shutting down, we just have to hope that in the next few weeks we'll start to see improvements, because it's going to show what the U.S. response should be, or what timeline we can expect here. I would expect that in the U.S. we should be getting... I feel like May is a reasonable... Sometime in May is a reasonable time frame for when we can actually start to live our lives again here in the U.S. So that's what I'm mentally thinking about, with an eye towards maybe there's a chance that with proper infrastructure and supplies, we could be doing something by the end of April, and there's still a chance that with misguided policy, we could be stuck through June. So that's kind of where my mental space is right now. I hope everyone is staying safe, having a good time, and I hope that you're having a super Saturday.